Yeah, and he was like trying to talk about how like these people were paid and paid actors and all this stuff, and this was like a real traumatic event that he was putting those families through. This is Red Hot Topics. I'm Sophia O'Leary. We just talked about cancel culture last time. There's two parts, right? So it's kind of scary because you see the amount of influence that like hate can have, or like when people just don't agree with something. You know, look, I'm sure people say stuff that they regret or aren't proud of, or have been caught in a moment of weakness where they've lashed out emotionally. I think people talk about how Kanye West has like mental health issues too. Not that that is an excuse for his behavior by any means, but cancel culture, it's like there's two parts. It's scary to think that people in power like that control social media, all that, they can just, you're just done. They make the call and it's like, you're done. Everything starts going. He was banned from Twitter, Instagram, like everything. And then the positive to it though, is that people need to understand what their influence carries, which I think is important, because a lot of people just think that they can spout off and say and do whatever and there's no consequence. But in reality, there should be. Regardless, we should have like the Andrew Tate thing. I know a lot of people didn't really like him. I don't really agree with everything that he has to say either, but it also, there's that second, right? I got to be devil's advocate, that it takes away the whole aspect of freedom of speech. So when it comes to Kanye West, when you're just spewing hate and like a bad message, you should absolutely 100% be canceled, because there should be, repercussions with what you say. If you look at any celebrity that's kind of done that, they usually have some type of consequence, whether it's losing partnerships, sponsorships, you name it, right? Athletes, all that stuff. And then you've got other times where it's, just because it's a difference of opinion, I think that those, that's a little bit different. So, I think Kanye West, yeah, maybe he'll choose his words more wisely in the future and realize that the influence that he has, because he was somebody that was, everybody was watching, everybody was looking at all the time, right? His life was kind of spiraling out of control. And, regardless, I think that there's always consequence for your actions, and that's part of it. So I am for cancel culture to a degree. I fully believe that people should be able to express their own opinions of things. And regardless, I think that the world needs to be more understanding that just because somebody disagrees with your point of view doesn't mean that it has to be an argument. It doesn't have to come from an emotional hatred place. Like, you don't have to emotionally respond and immediately attack someone's character because they disagree with your point of view. I think that people need to understand that just because your point of view is different, it doesn't need to, be an argument. It doesn't need to be, I'm over here, you're over here. Like my friends and I disagree on things all the time. It doesn't affect our relationship, so I think people need to understand that. I think social media is an easy way for people to start a war over nothing. If I was to post that I don't like oranges, somebody's immediately going to attack me because I don't like oranges. It's not hurting them. It's not affecting them in any way, shape, or form. It's just my opinion. Maybe I just don't like it. Maybe I'm allergic, right? Whatever the case may be. But I think that we need to get back to a place where people can have open, debating conversations without it being so life or death, or so, black and white, that, people feel that they have to stand one side or the other. I think it's just people having fun. It's Halloween, right? So if you grew up and you celebrated Halloween with your family, like that's probably a tradition that you want to keep. How people choose to dress, it's their own, they can do whatever they want, right? If that makes them feel good and, they want to dress however they're going to dress, like, just let that person live their life. What I don't understand is why people allow other people's actions or choices to affect them so much. I think that whenever you see somebody in an outfit that maybe you disagree with or you don't like, and it makes you feel a kind of way to where you want to lash out or you want to say something nasty to that person, you should figure out why you feel like that inside before you lash out. It has nothing to do with that person, like whatsoever at all. Other people's opinions of me are not my business. It's not my concern. That's all it comes down to. I think that people should operate more like that. If it doesn't hurt you in any way, shape, or form, like, just let it be. It's not, it's different when you're going to like a family water park and somebody's wearing like a micro bikini or something. Like, it's like, no kind of your audience, but I think people should be able to do whatever they want on Halloween. I just think people should do whatever they want and people should stop caring so much. I don't know why people care about strangers or people on the internet, or it's mind-blowing to me. Like, if you just focus on yourself, you're happier, you're healthier, you're just tunnel vision. People got really heated. I mean, but the weird thing is like Jeffrey Dahmer has always been around. Like, it was in Kesha's song, like it was in Katy Perry's song. You know what I mean? Like, people have hit on that. I think it just got a lot of light now because they made that documentary about it. What's so interesting is how people responded to it, because I feel like Zac Efron played some character of another serial killer and it wasn't really reacted to the same way. I'm not sure if it's because of the changes in culture and social media or what. Halloween, people are always going to dress up as something offensive. They're always going to, you know, you can't please everybody. You're not a people pleaser. The other thing is, like, they're not even dressing up as Jeffrey Dahmer, so to speak. They're dressing up as the actor who portrayed him. Like, and the people who are around, like, you don't really know how he behaved, how he acted, what he looked like. Like, you're only going off of what you see. So in reality, they're just dressing up as that actor who's playing a character. And it, you know what I mean? Like, people dress up as stuff all the time. Good, bad, ugly, you name it. You know what I mean? There's going to be other people who offend other people. But again, if you're that worried about someone else, it's not like they're promoting murdering people and cannibalism. At least I hope not. I mean, I don't know what those people are thinking when they do it. But I mean, I think Halloween is also meant to be like a little scary, a little spooky, you know, and some people do it as a chance to be fun and silly and whatever. I think that Halloween is going to be broken down to your interpretation. And again, don't worry about what anyone else is doing. I think we're in a world where everybody's worried about everybody else. It's just crazy to me. Like, I don't know why a stranger on the internet is so pressed about what you're wearing, what you look like, to, you know, troll you for, you know, whatever. It's just weird. Here's my thing, okay? I think that you have to make smart financial decisions, okay? So, like, for instance, when we talked a while ago, I talked about how, like, I used to get my clothes from, like, Kohl's, JCPenney's, Windsor, Forever 21, right? I think that you have to stick within your price range. So, like, my big thing is I don't buy large ticket items or ticket items that I can't buy at least 5 times, whether it's a car, whether it's clothes, whether it's a bag, whether it's shoes. If I can't purchase that item 5 times, at least, I cannot have it. I think the older that you get, you kind of stop caring about what other people think about you. But I think this generation is so pressed and they see so much on social media. They, like, feel that they have to compete with that in a way, or they feel like, oh, if I'm not showing off, if I'm not spending all my money in this, and they're putting themselves in, like, a bad situation because it's like flex culture. There are certain designers that it doesn't matter. Like, the quality, you can feel, you can see the difference versus, like, something that you're just buying for hype. I think that if it's, like, good quality, it's worth it, you do it. And again, like, put yourself in a good financial situation. If not, then don't do it. But don't do it because you want it, right? So, like, when I first started buying, like, luxury and designer items, I think it was because I grew up in, like, middle class and I wanted to differentiate myself from other people in middle class. Like, I wanted to say, like, I'm not the same, right? And especially coming up from, like, a background where I only got to go school shopping once a year, or I lived off my sister's hand-me-downs. Like, I think that ultimately determines, like, how you dress, like, your habits of money and clothing and, right, all that. So I just think that people should make smart financial decisions. I don't think that people should feel pressured to keep up with the Joneses or whatever. Again, that person that lives 100 miles away that's posting on Instagram is not going to influence your life one way or another. They're not going to care about you buying a Gucci t-shirt or whatever. I think people think, I don't know, in my opinion, I think people do it just to show that they're in a different class, that they're not the same as other people. They do it as a way to, like, brand themselves and to make themselves feel better about maybe something that was missing from their childhood or whatever the case may be, right? At the end of the day, you should do whatever makes you happy, but don't ever put yourself in a bad financial situation to do so because you're trying to impress somebody. I would much rather have my mortgage paid, my cars paid off, you know, like, have my business in a good financial situation, have a strong savings account, than have, like, a million designer things now. You know, but that's perspective. That's when your life changes. Like, I'm trying to make sure that my family is set up for the future, and I'm trying to make smart financial decisions to have, like, generational wealth, not just myself. So I think it depends on what you want, what you're after, what your goals are, and you have to figure out what that is. If you're going to spend all your money and blow all your money trying to fit into this box because you want people to see you or value you differently or view you differently, and but you don't have anywhere to live, your car's not paid off, like you're not putting yourself in a good position. You're just going to stay on the hamster wheel over and over trying to chase the next buck. Now everybody's talking about health and stuff, and how you shouldn't wear that stuff because it's like toxins on your body, and I think that there's definitely truth to that, the things that you're breathing in and such. But regardless, there's definitely a difference where someone smells good. Like, you're definitely more, I don't know if like attracted is the right word, but like you like someone who smells good. It does make a difference. Like, especially, like a guy dressed up, nice suit, nice scent, makes a difference versus like, a guy who maybe doesn't have the best smell. You're definitely not talking to that guy. So I think it's important to smell good, but you got to have good personal hygiene first, I think. I think branding matters, but I think nowadays there's been so many people that like duplicate like the Tom Ford scents or whatever. So I feel like you could still get the same result for, you can ball on a budget. You just got to find it. I'm all for balling on a budget. I don't think that you should go all out, spend a bunch of money if you can find the same thing for something, a little bit cheaper.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, I would never go to like Fendi or, Louis Vuitton or whatever and buy like a black bodysuit. Like, it just doesn't make sense to me. It's probably the same quality as, somewhere else I'm going to go. It just doesn't make sense. I'd rather go spend, the $50 on a bodysuit than spend the, $550. That stuff just doesn't make sense to me. That's just a dumb financial decision. Has nothing to do with being able to afford it or not. It's just the material is probably the same. So I think it's personal preference, and you got to figure out how your money's working for you, right? So 9 times out of 10 people paying rent, they can actually pay less money paying a mortgage. So in my opinion, it's a smarter financial decision to buy the house. It's something that you own, right? You can pay it off. Your mortgage will probably be a lower payment if you are going that route. But if you're somebody that's like young and you're trying to live in the city and you don't really have a lot of financial obligations, you don't have kids, you don't have pets, you don't have all that stuff, like, and you just want a nicer car, there's nothing wrong with that either. It's, I believe that if you work really hard, you should definitely reward yourself, but put yourself in a good financial situation. Like, don't go, okay, I saved $60,000, this car is $60,000, here we go, He runs a conspiracy podcast or something, right? Yeah, and he was like trying to talk about how like these people were paid and paid actors and all this stuff, and this was like a real traumatic event that he was putting those families through. And if you listen to their stories, they are horrific. They were getting like letters in the mail. People like sending threatening things to them. Like, imagine that being your family and you lost a child. That's heartbreaking. Like, you should never, ever, ever profit off of someone's hurt or loss or something like that. And let alone if you were not there to experience it yourself, you do not know all of the details. You know what's portrayed on the news. There are so many sides to every story, right? They say there's 3 sides to every story. And it's crazy because I think the court issue is unique because I think it's where each family lives, right? And that's where he has to go to court. And so certain states, it's regulated to how much he can pay out. But then there's other states where there's no cap. So those, you could never put a dollar amount on losing a child's life. I could never even imagine. Like, if that ever happened to me and one of my kids passed away or was involved in a trauma, like, I don't think I would survive. Like, I don't think that there's any dollar amount that you could do because you would never get that moment back in time. You would never get that person back in your life. And for him to just spout off and say so many terrible things for those people to have to relive every day, that's terrible. And in reality, the money is just, it's not even gonna fix anything. They're entitled to it for sure. But the pain and suffering that those people had to go through, I couldn't even imagine. And just not showing any kind of remorse or understanding and profiting off of that and building a following around it to where they were threatening those families. Like, that I can't get past. I think he deserved it. I think they should take that man for everything that he has. I think that's terrible. That's just my opinion. But you should never do that.